Taking a blanket or a towel, rolling it up, and putting it underneath the mid back. And so you can decide how big you want your blanket or towel rolled up. If it's too much, unroll it a little bit so it's smaller. Um, it's meant to be pretty gentle, not like we're not going for extreme yoga today. Hey, Angela, good morning. Grab a blanket or towel. I'm going to hit the mute, but you all know that you can talk if you need to. You have agency here. You can use the chat box if you like, also. So roll the blanket or towel up, put it under your mid back, lie back over it. We're going for at least some amount of comfort. So if that's not giving you that, then adjust. You can move the blanket up or down or make it smaller or bigger as you need to. Just letting your attention, your awareness for a few moments kind of dance along the surface of your body. And as you let your attention drift along the surface of your body, just trying to take note of anywhere that you feel energy and whatever that might feel like. It might feel like tightness, it might feel like vibrating, it might feel like warmth or cold, anything at all, just any sensation. And when you notice any feeling of energy or sensation on the surface of your body, try to imagine it sinking down and in. Try to pull it down deeper into the depths of you. So I was reminded yesterday we had teacher training, and this lovely guest teacher who reminded us that yoga wasn't meant in the beginning to be a relational community thing, although it's lovely that we've made it that. But in the beginning, it was really a practice of being alone. And I thought that was nice to remember as we head into winter. Happy solstice, by the way. As we slide into the silky silence of winter, we could take heart, perhaps, knowing that the original yogis, it was basically like, you want to learn yoga, you want to come to some amount of self-realization, well, go away and live in a cave for a while. And there's something about loneliness that can be really transformative and quite beautiful. So I just offer you that, especially if you live alone, or, as we go into a season where we've got pandemic plus winter, to maybe think about just changing the relationship we have to being alone and welcoming it like those ancient yogis did, using it as a portal. So a few more breaths here. Just continue to let your attention dance around the surface of your body. Continue to notice what you find there and try to draw it down. Let it seep down through all the layers of you, down into your depths. And then you could shift a little bit backwards so that the blanket, if it was in your mid back, it could come down towards your low back, just moving the area of compression to the lumbar spine and being with that for just a moment. And however you need to do it is good. You might choose to have your knees bent or straight. Take good care of your body. I think you all know this by now, but everything I say is a suggestion. And you are always welcome to interpret things as you need to. Just one more little moment of the dance of your mind around the surface of your body. You could imagine the whole front of you getting a little softer and heavier, more water-like, and seeping down towards the back of you. If you want the playlist, I sent it out. You could start it at any time. It's called The Silky Silence of Winter. That's where we're going. So could you create perhaps to match the loveliness around and outside of us, a real silkiness inside you? Imagine your tissues becoming a little more slippery, the surfaces inside you gliding against each other. Even as you breathe, you might feel it. That bone kind of glides against bone in a sea of tissue inside you. You might feel your bones glide against the inner surface of your skin. Imagine it all just a little smoother and silkier. And then you could take the blanket out altogether, just move it off to the side, however you need to get it out from underneath you, the towel or the blanket, and feel what it's like to be on your back without any compression there. To notice the after effect of having that obstacle against your spine, and then stretch your legs way out long, and you can have your arms just down by your side. And for a few moments, you're going to let your heels press into the ground and use the feet to rock your whole body. Just point and flex your feet. It's kind of gentle. We're trying not to use the butt muscles here, but just letting the feet have this ripple effect that rocks the entire body. You feel the back of your skull getting slides back and forth across the floor. This is so wonderful for all the tissues in your body. And we'll do it for a little bit because in my humble personal opinion, I think it takes a while with this one to feel the effect, which can be quite magical if you do it for a while. So just keep flexing, pointing, flexing, pointing. That's it. Keep going just a little bit more. Flex and point. Rock the body. Rock on the sacrum and the base of the skull. And then you could let the rocking go and just be still for a moment. The suggestion, I loved another thing a teacher said yesterday. She said, the suggestion of stillness, but not mandating it. Noticing the feeling of the surface of your body again, and anywhere you notice energy, vibration, thrumming, sparkling, tightness, and let it seep in. We're going inward today, down into the depths. And then you could start to come on up. Take your time. You could bend your knees and roll onto your side, or any way that you come up is good. And as you come up, finding a simple cross-legged seat, one shin in front of the other, one ankle in front of the other. And then we'll do a little thing that one of my teachers, Kira, calls swamp monster and a hallelujah. So swamp monster looks like this. You take your arms open into a V, and you round your back, kind of like, ooh, swamp monster. And then you go the opposite way, and it's hallelujah. Let the arms turn the other way and lift your chest. And so a few of those alternating between the spinal flexion and spinal extension, the swamp monster, and the hallelujah. And you could let your fingers all be like tiny little waterfalls at the end of your hands. Just sort of spill out from the wrists, washing through the sky. Notice your skin, the whole outline of you, and anywhere that it might feel tough rigid or stiff? And could you invite in a little bit more silkiness to the skin? Bringing some attention to the jaw and the eyes. Perhaps a softening around the eyes. The next time that you come into your swamp monster, your rounded position, stay there and let your arms start to drift out in front of you. And we'll take a walk forward with the arms and just checking in, kind of finding that first layer of sensation. And when you meet that first layer of sensation, you can pause and you can decide if that's enough. If that layer is plenty, you stay. Otherwise, you could bend your elbows and you could visit a second layer and see how that feels. You could let your head be really heavy, all 10, 11, 12 pounds of it, whatever it weighs, just letting it drop. Bringing some attention to the jaw again and around the eyes and the belly. That there could be perhaps a layer of softening in the belly, especially if you tend to hold the belly very tight, or if you have a challenging relationship with it sometimes. You could just invite some ease there. And then we'll stay real low and go ahead and walk your hands over to the right. And as you do so, you're going to walk them all the way over to the right. And so that right hand, can you bring the elbow down? Even if it means that your left hip and knee come up off the ground, that's totally fine. Get the right elbow down and then really slowly peel the left arm up and over your ear. So you're in a side bend. Again, just to stress this again, that it's really okay if your whole left side is coming up off the floor. We're not worried about that right now. Just trying to get that right elbow down and left arm streaming over the head. And then staying, everything else stays the same. Just lift your left arm straight up into the sky. And here, do a little bit of swamp monster hallelujah. Just rounding, curling in, opening up. Just a couple times, and it's subtle, it's not huge. And when you find yourself again in that swamp monster, that rounded spine, that rolling in of the arm, stay. Bend your elbow, the top one, and let your left hand drape behind your back. And now here, with the arm draped behind the back, a little bit of that alternating arching and rounding. You could draw the left shoulder way back and look up, and then round your back. Then you could decide how big or small you want these movements. Right? Just layers upon layers of sensation happening. And if you need to stay at a really gentle layer, please do. Otherwise, you can uncover and try to find the next layer. So when you come to that place where you open, where you draw the left shoulder way back, stay there now, but just let your head fall and let it kind of fall organically wherever it wants to land. It could be more chin towards chest. It could be more right ear towards right shoulder. You could experiment with moving it around those places, but then trying to find that suggestion of stillness again. Drawing the left shoulder back, the head nice and heavy, the jaw easy, around the eyes nice and easy. Might be helpful to take an ah breath. And everything else stays as is. Just take that left arm. We're going to reach it over the ear again. So as you unfold it from behind you, carry it across the sky with those waterfall fingers up and over the ear. And now bringing attention to the left hip and the left knee, the left thigh. Try to reach them down and away from the left hand. You're still pressing into that right arm. There's still a softness, hopefully, about the skin, just checking in that it didn't get all rigid and callous and hard, that there's a silkiness to everything, like really soft snow. So So one more breath in and out, rooting down through the left hip, left sitting bone, left knee, just as far towards the floor as it'll go. And then float up. Let that left arm float up and slowly pick your whole upper body up. Come back to sit. And just feel the effect, the after pose of being in a long side bend. It's really something, isn't it? And then we'll go to the other side, but starting first with this little swamp monster hallelujah business. So arching, rounding, letting the arms float. Couple more times. And then as you feel like you're ready, you could let the swamp monster take you into a forward fold. Oh, you know what? Switch your legs. Why don't we just change the cross of the legs here for good measure? And then you could take yourself into a forward fold with just the hands reaching for the floor, exploring that first layer of sensation. Noticing where you feel it the most here, to be curious about where is the epicenter of sensation and what you feel on the surface. Could you invite down to sink through the layers, to seep into the body? So we really practice a kind of loneliness, a kind of turning way in and down into the depths. If you want to put your elbows down, you could put your elbows down. Let the head hang heavy. And then a slow walk all the way around to the left now. Left hand way out to the side and putting the left elbow all the way down, even if it means the right hip comes up off the floor. And then slowly extending that right arm, sailing it out overhead, right alongside your cheekbone. Like a little palm frond overhead, really gentle. Your palm frond of that right arm starts to sway in the breeze a little bit. And it slowly lifts all the way up, just lifting right arm up to the sky. And now let your palm frond sway again, rolling in and rolling out, alternating between that feeling of hallelujah and swamp monster. And you could keep it in the swamp monster, so letting it round and the arm roll in, and then just wrapping, draping that right arm behind your back. And now here, arching, rounding a few times with the arm wrapped behind you. Noticing as you rock the shoulders that the pelvis is also rocking, that there's ripples that spread out all the way through the inner landscape of your body. New evidence is telling us that our bones are not as stuck together as we think, that they actually float in a sea of connective tissue, that it's like an ocean of watery connective tissue inside of us, where the bones are like little boats and they just bob along. So could you imagine that? Your bones a little softer, like happy little boats in a sea, bobbing in this little ocean of movement that you're making. Next time that you draw back, that you pull that right shoulder back in space and try to open your chest towards the sky, stay, but just let the head drop. Try to get full release through the jaw here. You could separate your teeth, that could help. You could even open your jaw really wide for a moment and then gently close it. And we'll stay, but take the right arm again over the ear, and this time with attention to the right hip, knee, thigh. Press it away from the right arm, reaching out. Try to reach your right sitting bone in the direction of the floor. Even if it doesn't get there, it has lots of intention. There's a soft strength about it pressing down. You could bob your neck around too, you know, if that rigidity started to creep into the skin and the muscles of the neck, move it around, move the jaw. And then slowly you're coming up. The right arm reaches up first, the rest of you follows, and you just live in the after effect of the side bend for a moment. Go ahead and swing your legs around behind you. Come on to all fours. We'll do just a little bit of prep. I like to go a little bit more gentle on Mondays. I hope that's okay with you all. But just know that if it's not, you can always add in stuff, you know. You can make it harder if you want. But take some cat cows here. Right? We did a lot of side bending. Now let's do a little bit bigger of arching and rounding, flexing and extending. And then we're going to add arms. And what we're going to do is as you round, as you push into the ground around your spine, start to move back towards a child's pose and let one hand just drag back along the floor. So it drags back and reaches behind you. And then as you come back to hands and knees, it comes up and around in a big giant circle towards the sky. And so just like that, continue along, rocking back towards your heels, sliding the fingers back, and then taking the arm up and around. And you can begin to explore that a little bit and play. If you want to bend your elbow, if you want to turn the arm in or out, anything goes here. You can just let the arm kind of be free to explore this movement here. Just a couple more times and we'll land in a thread the needle. So as you feel ready, you can take that arm, whichever one was up in the air, doesn't matter, slide it underneath the other one and come down to this thread the needle, where you could also dance around a little bit until you feel like you find a spot where you could settle into some degree of stillness, right? The suggestion, but not the mandating of a really quiet place here for a moment. Keep the arm that's underneath you, keep it underneath, and just start to sit back onto your heels. As you do, crisscross your arms, take your hands to opposite shoulders, and just noticing which arm is on top and which one you threaded, because we'll do it all opposite on the next side. Keep your hands on your shoulders or near your shoulders, and just lift your elbows up as high as you can. We're going to make a big circle with the elbows. So like your elbows are tracing a big circle in the sky. Draw them around so your whole torso makes a big giant circle. Eventually they point down as you round, and then they point to the other side and back up. And when you reach the top, make a big circle the other way. Just a big yawn between all the ribs there. And when you reach the top this time, let your arms travel all the way up to the sky. You can feel your fingers maybe on the skin of your arms as they reach up, and then interlace your hands. Press your palms up to the sky. Open your jaw as wide as you possibly can. And as you exhale next, close it gently. Take your hands, interlace them behind your back. And a child's pose with hands interlaced, so you can tip your way forward as you stretch your knuckles back and bring your head towards the ground. May touch, may not, doesn't matter. You can let your arms shake out a little bit, kind of wobble from side to side, just a little gentle rocking. And then let the arms go. Come back to all fours. And so whichever arm you were doing the big circle with last time, change it up this time. And so you go the other way, back towards child's pose, big circle up and around. Spine is moving, arm is moving. There's just ripples everywhere through the inner universe. You could play with bending the elbow, turning the arm in or out. And the next time that the arm lands up in the sky, dive it like a bird underneath the other arm and thread the needle. Keeping that arm underneath, sit back to your heels, crisscrossed arms holding opposite shoulders. And then trying to keep the hands somewhere near the shoulders, lift your elbows up. Make your big circle, just going like a tiny bit slower than you might be inclined to, so that you could feel there's more layers of sensation when you get slower. Sometimes you feel much more. When you reach the top, go the other way. When you reach the top of that one, let the fingers trace along the arms as the arms open up, hands interlace, press your palms up to the sky, big wide open jaw. Let it close, bring your hands behind your back. As you interlace, press them back and tuck down into a little child's pose just for a breath. And then come on up, we're moving on. So releasing the hands to the floor in front of you, tuck your toes under, and can you come into a squat here? And you might need support, right? You might need to sit on a couple blocks or pillow or anything and just move around here. You can let your knees swing out any direction. You could round your back, or you could plug your fingers into the floor and arch your spine. And then we'll take it into a standing forward bend. So let your hips lift up. Bring the feet into a comfortable place underneath you and just let your upper body hang. Let your limbs dangle, your arms be soft and heavy, your head might shake a little bit. You could hold opposite elbows or biceps if it helps you to feel a little bit softer and heavier, and you might even bounce around a little bit. And so as you start to roll up now, do so sorry, computer keeps getting caught there. Okay, rolling up really slow. And as you come all the way to the top, you're gonna take your hands, interlace them, and press them up to the sky. So you have your feet kind of happily apart, whatever that feels like to you. And then with a little bit of a twist to the right and a little bit of rounding like swamp monster, bend your left knee. The right leg can stay straight or it can bend a little bit, but left knee bends and you're rounding over to the right. So the idea is to get into this side body, lots of side body stuff today, between the muscles of the ribs on the left side. Push the ribs into the skin, the inner lining of your skin on the left side. And then coming up tall, twist your body, your upper body, a little bit to the left and arch. So it's just a little of that hallelujah feeling. And we'll go back and forth like that. So as you turn towards the right, you round and you bend the left knee. And as you come up and twist towards the left, you lift your sternum up, really press your feet in. Just could be the slightest hint of a back bend. A couple more times. I mean, you could make it big if you wanted to. You could roll all the way down and come up and twist, or you could have it be just at that first layer, right? Just really sweet. And then just come to neutral, let your arms fall. Drop your chin to your chest, bend your knees pretty generously. Let your shoulders round forward and coil like you're making a cinnamon bun out of your spine. Coil down, coil little by little until you come back to a squat. So as you feel ready, you can bend your knees a bunch. You might turn your toes way out and come down to squat, settle in again. And while you're here in the squat, you could take your fingertips and bring them to your cheekbone, locate your cheekbone, and then take your fingers, slide them just underneath your cheekbone to that sort of hollowed out divot spot. And then let your head, the whole weight of your head, drop forward a little bit so you feel more pressure there. You feel the fingers push up into the cheekbone. And then releasing that, feel the after effect. You're going to take it to a plank pose. So go ahead and walk your hands out. You can walk the feet back or however you get there, coming to plank and then letting it down slowly. Come all the way to the floor. And as you come all the way to the floor, a full prostration where you might stretch your arms out and put your head down. But if that doesn't feel comfortable, you could you could take it like a sphinx instead, and it's still got the same quality, the same sort of feeling as a prostration. And then you're going to take the right hand, bring it next to your chest so that you can roll over the left side body onto your back. Okay, and if you don't get there like that, however you get there is good. You're on your back, hug your knees into your chest, just rock a little bit. And so as we rock up to sit, you'll be facing the back of your space, which is fine. Okay, so you don't need to look at me. I'll just talk you through everything. So rock up to sit facing the back. Open your legs into a straddle. It doesn't have to be the widest straddle ever. And then in this seated V position, take your arms up into a V overhead and a little bit of Hallelujah Swamp Monster here, alternating between rounding your spine and arching into a slight back bend. And then just like we did in the beginning, as you come to that rounding, that swamp monster, let your fingertips come to the floor, and you can start to walk yourself forward between your legs until you meet that first layer of sensation. And then you check in, do I want to stay here or might I want to go to the next layer and bring the elbows down? Let the head drop heavy, let the skin get a little softer. And then stay nice and low. Walk yourself over towards the right leg. You could bring one hand on either side of that leg. And then get the right elbow down, even if it means the left hip comes up, no problem. But right elbow on the floor, left arm comes over the ear in a side bend. And then we're going to change it just a little bit from how we did in the beginning. We'll skip some and just reach out through that left arm and try to reach your left sitting bone back down. Doesn't matter if it comes down or not, but just the intention is there. A side bend that's soft and strong all at once here. And then you can let that left arm float up and lift your torso back up tall. Take your hands to the insides of your knees, scoop your knees in towards your chest and roll back down onto your back. So you're on your back, knees in towards your chest. We're going to drop the knees first over to the right. So let your knees drop to the right. Little twist. You could open your arms to a T or to a V overhead. If you want, you could even wrap the left leg around the right leg for more intensity in this twist if you need more sensation. If you don't, stay in that first layer. Can you bring attention to the back of your heart like it's just the biggest, widest lake, and let it get heavy and soft and spread out. And then come back through center. If you have the legs wrapped, you can unwrap them. We'll just go right over to the other side. So knees drop to the left, or you could stay, or you could wrap the right leg over the left leg for more sensation. Take your arms, this time reach them up alongside your ears. We're going to keep rolling over that left hip in that same direction as the knees. And as you roll, unwrap the legs, stretch your legs out long behind you and roll right onto your belly, where you could do full prostration, either head down, palms down, or do it more like a sphinx. And then bring the hands back underneath your shoulders. You're going back to squat. So tuck your toes under. And as you push with the hands, walk yourself back towards your feet. And come into squat. And just like we did before, you could swing the hips around, move the knees around, round it, or extend it into a little back bend. Move the arms if you want. Anything goes for a moment. And then coming to standing forward bend, hips go up, head goes down. You can snuggle the feet in until they feel like they're in a good place underneath you. Go ahead and start to roll your way up to stand. As you come up to stand, reach the arms up overhead, interlacing the hands. And this time it's going to be first a little turn to the left and a rounding, and the right knee bends pretty generously. And as you come up, a little turn to the right and a hint of a back bend. Legs could be straight or the left knee could be a little bent. And then back and forth like that a few times. So twisting to the left, rounding, bending the right knee. You can round any amount. And then coming up and you turn to the right and you can back bend any amount. A couple more times, thinking about the inner skin and the muscles and the bones gliding, right? Sliding, silky against the inner lining of your skin. Next time you come up, just come up neutral, tall spine. Let the arms float down. Drop your chin to your chest. Bend your knees, rounding forward. Cinnamon bun roll. Just go drip by drip, bone by bone, coiling down until eventually you land in a squat once more. When you get to that squat, we'll do that little jaw and face release one more time, taking your fingertips right underneath the cheekbones, get them in there. And then the head can just shift forward a little bit. Just let the weight of it kind of lean out and drop onto the fingers. You can unhinge your upper jaw from your lower jaw. Let your tongue be really soft. Releasing the hands to feel what you feel. Walk it out to plank. And take your plank all the way to the ground. And you choose either fully laid out on the ground, palms down, head down, or elbows on the ground. No, these poses, they weren't made for people with boobs. So that's why it's like sometimes it's not comfortable to be down there. And then this time it's going to be the, which way? You're going to take the right hand. Wait, which way did we go last time? We rolled over the left side. So you'll bring the left hand back. Yeah. And roll over the right side onto your back. Doesn't really matter that much. But coming onto your back, hug the knees in, and then go ahead and rock yourself up to sit. Wide leg straddle. And then taking Swamp Monster and Hallelujah a few times here. It's just sort of a friendly way to introduce yourself to the pose. And as you feel ready, you take that rounded, soft feather fingers, waterfalls dripping down to the floor in front of you, and walk your hands out between your legs until you meet the first gate, the first layer. You meet it and you decide if that's enough, or you meet it and then you go to the next layer and you put the elbows down. And in this one, you'll start to walk your way over towards the left leg. Get your hands on either side of it. And then put the left elbow down, even if the right hip comes up. Sail the right arm alongside your ear, alongside your cheekbone. Gentle face, easier on the eyes, gooey jaw. And add a little bit more reach to it, a little more reaching through the right arm, a little more pressing down through the right sitting bone, making space between sitting bone and fingertips. How's your neck? float up. First, the right arm lifts, the body follows as you come to sit, and just to feel, not miss that. You can scoop your knees in, roll down onto your back, hug the knees in one more time, a little rock. So this time the knees will go over to the left first, where you could or could not wrap the right leg on top. You choose. Arms can spread open, a T or a V. Back heart heavy and wide. And then come back through center, go the other way. There's no hurry, just a reminder, no urgency here, but you could drop the knees over to the right and you could maybe wrap the left leg around or not. And in this one, the arms are going to come up more like a V overhead so that you could start to roll onto the belly, over the right hip. Let the legs stream back behind you, coming to either totally down or elbows down, prostration. And this time, we're going to come into a downward dog. So pull your hands back under your shoulders, press up through all fours. Tuck your toes under. Downward facing dog. And from downward dog, you can step your right foot up between your hands. And in as many steps as it takes to get there, it's all good. If you need padding under the back knee, put some padding down. And then coming up onto your thigh, bring your palms to your right thigh and just stack them and just rearrange for a moment. Find your steadiness here. And then we'll take the arms and reach them around behind the back today and see what you can hold on to, wrists or forearms or elbows, it all works. And then any amount of leaning back, just a touch, going for that first layer, because when we push too hard, when we wrestle with it, then the subtle feeling, that feeling of the energy dancing along the surface of the body can get lost. So stay where you can still be sort of calm. And you might eyes open or eyes closed, but just let your awareness drift along the surface of your body to notice anywhere that you feel sensation and what's the quality of it. How do I react to it? And can I draw it in? Try to pull that sensation from the periphery to the depths, from the outer lining into the core. Absorb it. And then releasing your hands. Take them to either side of the front foot. Draw your hips back. Right? Runner's stretch or runner's lunge. You could flex that right foot. And then add a little cat-cow here. If you need something to put your hands on, you could use blocks to put your hands on. Cat-cow in runner's stretch. And you could experiment with moving the hands a little forward. That would be the next layer. But if that layer causes your skin to get hard or makes you lose that subtlety of the energy, then walk it back. And then you could look forward and bring both hands to the inside of your right foot. Bend your right knee. We'll come to a lizard. So you can bend the right knee, shift the hips forward, wiggle the right foot open just a little bit more. And again, here too, your hands could be on blocks or a pillow or anything at all if the floor feels far away. And with your pelvis, try to draw a little crescent moon shape, a little smile shape with the hips. And it's little, it doesn't have to be huge, just rocking the pelvis side to side. And you feel maybe how, as you rock it, one hip pointer comes forward and then curls back, and then the other one comes forward. And if you want to explore deeper layers, you could start to rock a little bit more. You might notice that your right foot wants to move. Feel how it responds to this rocking. You may even come all the way over towards that outer left hip, coming near to the ground. Just a few more like this. And then we'll take that front leg and call it back into downward dog. Go slow. Up the back toes, lift the back knee, step on back. Take the left foot forward this time, bring it through the hands. The back knee down, pat it up if you need to. Take your time, for spine's your ground. Feel the parts of you that touch the earth, make some sincere contact. And then you can bring your palms up to your thigh. And then hands behind the back, and you might notice which way is more natural, which arm is on top, and then switch it so that you do it the other way this time. And then any amount, kind of leaning into those folded arms behind you, a little lift of the sternum, but not so much that you can't be here and still be tender and silky. Maintaining at least some of the silkiness of your skin. Let your hands release to either side of the left foot. Draw your hips back. Flex that foot, scooch it forward if that feels good, and then arch and round your spine here. You could experiment with walking the hands forward, and then you could change your mind if you needed to and walk them back, or you could keep them there. And we'll take it into a lizard. So bending the left knee, moving the foot a little bit out to the side, the hands to the inside or two blocks on the inside. And then a little smile with the hips, just rocking. Subtle at first layer. And then maybe a little more. Swing them as much as you like. You can let the right outer hip dip towards the floor. And then coming back to downward dog. Bringing the left foot back, tuck the right toes under, downward dog. Just feel the effects of your practice. Roll out into plank pose and lower all the way to the ground, nice and slow. And when you get there, taking your elbows to the floor, Sphinx pose. So everybody now, instead of the full prostration, let's all do Sphinx. And you could keep your legs straight and streaming back behind you, or you could bend your knees and add a little more compression to Sphinx pose. You could decide, right? Layers. If this is my layer, great. If I want to go to the next layer, and I can still stay tender, bending the knees. And if you have the knees bent, let them drop. Widen your elbows, bring your head down. Take a rest for a moment. You might turn your head to the side or put it down on your palms. And we'll do that one more time. So up to you, you might repeat. There's sort of 3 layers now. It could be simple Sphinx. It could be Sphinx with the knees bent, or if you wanted to, you could pull the hands back, have them a little wider than your shoulders, just on your fingertips, elbows nice and wide. And as you peel the chest and head up, You might bend the knees here too and take it into just more compression. That's all it is. There's some, no better or worse or deeper or more advanced or anything. It's just layers of compression in the lumbar spine and how much your body might crave or do well with today. And then you could gently let it go. And as you do let this one go, just go ahead and flip right around onto your back where you are. Just turn yourself over like a pancake and come into a happy baby. So let your legs lift up into the sky where you might hold the pinky toe edges, but if you don't reach there, ankles, backs of knees, anything at all, you're just with the knees bent, some amount of comfort, hopefully here, but also some sensation. You could rock a little bit. And then the invitation, the suggestion of stillness, not a mandate, but you might find your way into a quieter place. Maybe you even let your eyes close, but you don't have to. You could just let them get fuzzy and soft. Can there be a layer of softening through the belly and a softening through the throat? Notice how that affects your breath. Will be just another couple of breaths here, and then you could let your feet come down to the ground. So you're on your back and your knees bent, your feet a little wider than the hips, and just let your knees windshield wiper from side to side a few times. You might notice the difference from right hip to left hip. Does one feel more compacted or more dark? Does one feel more effervescent and more free? Maybe, maybe not. And then you could let your knees just fall to one side, any side, doesn't matter, and stay a bit. You could even reach your arms up overhead like a big V, kind of a yawning feeling through the body. And you could also decide if this is plenty, or if the leg, the one that's turned in, right? One leg is turned out, one is turned in. The one that's turned in, you could adjust where that foot is. You could crawl it back or up or down and create different sensation through that hip. And so you might play with that for a moment. Let gravity really have you. Notice where the resistance might be. You're going to locate any defensiveness. And seeing if you can invite 5 or 10% more softness to those places. And then you could come back to that windshield wipering. If you crawled your foot back, crawl it back in, and just do side to side a couple more times, wiping back and forth. And then, as you probably guessed, we'll land on the other side. So knees dropping the other way this time. And you could be very happy there. You could put blankets, props, and things underneath you if the floor feels too far away. Or you could scoot that back foot back a little bit, up or down a little bit, and just play with where's the sensation that you need today. Feel all the parts of you that touch the ground. And can they drop in, sink in, spread out? Soft hands. Can you invite the whole front of you to melt towards the back of you? Go ahead and bring the legs back in. You could give them one last hug into the chest and one last little rock around. If there's anything else, though, that your body needs, always you have absolute agency and freedom to do anything else before you rest in Shavasana. You could do resting on your back or side or any other way that you like. Do give yourself a couple of minutes to drop in, to be like those ancient yogis, to go into your aloneness. You don't need to move yet. I'm going to share a wintry Mary Oliver poem with you, so you could just start to let your awareness kind of filter back in to your space and your body. She says, in winter, all the singing is in the tops of the trees, where the wind bird, with its white eyes, shoves and pushes among the branches. Like any of us, he wants to go to sleep, but he's restless. He has an idea, and slowly it unfolds from under his beating wings as long as he stays awake. But his big, round music, after all, is too breathy to last. So it's over. In the pine crown, he makes his nest. He's done all he can. I don't know the name of this bird. I only imagine his glittering beak tucked into a white wing, while the clouds, which he has summoned from the north, which he has taught to be mild and silent, thicken and begin to fall into the world below like stars, or the feathers of some unimaginable bird that loves us, that is asleep now and silent, that has turned itself into snow. If you want to rest longer, please do. Otherwise, start to roll your way over onto your side or hug your knees in and rock up. I call those ancient yogis in the caves who intuited, right? They went deep into their loneliness and they found a sound there, and the sound was Om. So if you'd like to join me, we could put the hand somewhere either on the body or together. If you want to just listen, that's great too. We can breathe in together. Om. Thank you so much.